Okay. Shabbos ends this week with Erev Yantif. So it feels a little bit, it's almost like it was nigrar into Shavuos. Shabbos Parshas Bamidbar is always a hachana for Shavuos. Shavuos always comes out between Bamidbar and Nasai. But this week, more than ever, it feels like Shabbos is a hachana. This Shabbos is a hachana for Shavuos. So I want to say over, this is something that we've said before, but I want to say over maybe a neifich shenischadesh ba, just a ha'ara, a slight ha'ara on the parsha, and then to move from there into an insight into Shavuos, which we need to talk about before Shavuos. Some Shavuos Torah we could say on Shavuos, but this we need to talk about before Shavuos because this makes the difference in how we go into Shavuos. Okay, so we have our work cut out for us tonight. The Parshas Bamidbar has in it the counting of Klal Yisrael. And we know throughout the Dairos that the Mefarshim, the Rishonim, the Achronim discuss the depth, the meaning behind what it means that Klal Yisrael was counted. It wasn't just census taking. If it was a technical thing, we wouldn't need it to be in the Torah. There are a lot of technical things about their life in the Midbar that we know nothing about. We just assume they handled it good. You know, if the Torah is if the Torah is informing us in great detail about the counting, so that means that the counting has tremendous relevance to us. And what's interesting is that be'etzem, it sounds like the counting is mentioned. Sounds like it's the counting is mentioned twice. First, Klal Yisrael is counted, and then they are informed about the degalim. Okay, ish al digloi ba'oisais leveis avoisam by shlishi, and when they're informed about the degalim, and they are informed in what pattern around the Mishkan Klal Yisrael should camp, and which Shevet should camp next to which Shevet, the Psukim inform us of the numbers. Utzva yufkudeim arba v'shivim ela v'sheish meyos. Utzva yufkudav arba v'chamishim ela v'arba meyos. It informs us again of the numbers. Now Rashi is ayimid on this, and Rashi says, the Ramban is ayimid on it. And the Ramban says, V'hizker kol zeh, the reason it mentions all of this, mentioning all the numbers again, kol pekudei hamachanois l'tziv oisam, like the pasuk he brings, is lahidiyah, is to inform us, shemiyimei haminyan, that from the time that they were counted, we know when that started, right? That date is given at the beginning of Chumash Bamidbar. So, be'echad lachodesh hasheni b'ashana hashenis. So that is Aleph Iyar in the second year that they were in Mitzrayim, that they were in the Midbar, excuse me. And from then, at sheniskenu hamachanois v'chanu kein ledigleim, until they camped according to their degalim, which v'chein naso, and they traveled. Lo nifkad mehem ish, they didn't lose a single person. V'zeh ma'isa neis sheyiu esrim yoim shalayamus echod mikol ha'om hagadol hazeh. This is a ma'isa neis that not one person in the nation died, because the counting was in the beginning of the second month. They traveled in Parshas Ba'aleischa finally. Vahi b'shana hashenis b'chodesh hasheni be'esrim b'chodesh. That's the esrim yom that the Ramban is mentioning on the 20th of the month. So if on the 1st of the month they did the count, on the 20th of the month they traveled, such a large nation that not one person passed away. So that's a big chiddush. Now there's a lot that needs to be figured out with that agav, because it also means nobody's birthday was then. Ben Esrim Shana Vamala, right? Weren't they counted Ben Esrim Shana? In those 20 days, nobody had a birthday?
Did they count from the birth?
20.
Did
What?
they count from the birth or from something like 1 Nisan? And everybody became the next year.
Ooh. I think it says, though, it doesn't say Lissoy L'daisam, doesn't that what it mean? That's an interesting point. Because if you don't say that, I have to look into that again.
All generations are like that, right?
What?
All generations are like that. You always assume Mechesh Ben is assuming he lived X amount of time, he lived X amount of time, ignoring the fact that if the birthdays were middle of the year, you would lose or add a year. Let's say Adam to...
Yeah, but it could be that there are those who do make those cheshbonos. It is true that when we count Rosh Hashanah L'Malachim, Nisan, we know that there's such a thing. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, Masechta Rosh Hashanah is full of examples of that. But I don't know, because the only other option is to say that the nace was that the exact amount of people who had birthdays, not the exact amount of people who passed away.
Wait, what?
I also don't understand. Passed away.
You said nobody passed away.
Right? The other option would be...
Right. But also, wasn't the count from 20 till 60?
I said maybe nobody's from 20.
And nobody turned 60.
Right.
Say maybe the older people passed
Who says they have to have died?
maybe they just weren't...
I'm sorry, I never questioned the Ramban on this until now. I'm sitting with my friends.
That becomes...
Ben Esrim Shana Vamala, Kol Yesus Avos Yisrael Zeus Avaisam. So that was not it was not till 60.
Oh.
Right, it was not till 60. It was Ben Esrim Shana Vamala, not till 60. Right, so the question remains about the birthdays, but not about the 60. Okay? Even though we know that the 600,000 was 20 to 60, but that's not the this counting was.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. The Ramban says that.
The Ramban says that in those 20 days nobody dies.
Yeah.
And that's why it says the count again with the exact same numbers when it's talking about the Degalim, meaning the Degalim is their travel atzura, pointing out the nace that nobody died. I'm just pointing out that if people had birthdays, the number should be different also. Unless the Ramban is not trying to get into that. The Ramban is just saying, it mentions those numbers because that Klal Yisrael is still Negeya to here. It doesn't mean that the number, if you counted now, would be exactly the same. Right. That's not the point. The point is that that's Negeya exactly here.
Would we assume these numbers
something
are
like
exact?
that. What?
I mean, everyone had
yes.
exactly 51,000? Meaning, like, it doesn't say 51,297?
It does.
Yeah?
Sometimes it does, yeah. Okay. So, that's what the Ramban says. I had this ha'ara, and I used to think it's independent of the Ramban. And this year I realized that maybe it works together with the Ramban, and I think it's a good hakdama to going into the yontif of Kabbalah Satira. We know that this counting was a very, very, very special experience. Unlike any other counting in history where you became a number and you became irrelevant, the countings to Klal Yisrael in the Midbar were really, really, really an opportunity to understand that you are part of the whole, you are necessary, you're an Eivish HaNeshama Tluyaba, you have a tafkid, you're a part of this. You are a part of this. Imagine if you have a company and you build the structure, the hierarchy of the company, and it becomes obvious to every person working there that if they would pull themselves out, the structure wouldn't work. That was the idea of the counting, and that's the way it happened, as the Ramban says, V'zesha amur Rabbi Seinu meiroiv chibasam mayna oisam kol shah v'oid, he says, Ki haba lifnei Av HaNeviim, anyone who came in front of the Av HaNeviim, Moshe Rabbeinu, v'achiv kedosh Hashem, v'hu noida eileihem b'shmai, and he is known to them by name. Yohiv loy b'davar hazeh zechus v'chayim. That gave him a zechus and a connection to chayim. Ki bo b'soid ha'am u'b'ksav b'nei Yisrael u'zechus harabim b'misparam. He's part of the tzibur of Klal Yisrael. And it says that they would come in front of Moshe and Aaron, ki yosimu aleim einom l'toiva. Moshe and Aaron would look at them with a toiv ayin, yavakshu aleim rachamim, and Moshe and Aaron would daven for them, Hashem aleikei avoseichem yosef aleichem kachem elef ba'amim v'layam it misparchem. It's a beautiful, beautiful maimed, this count. So, which was done obviously with the Machzas HaShekel, but still each person came in front of Moshe and Aaron. So, I wanted to just kind of like this. Sometimes a person could be an integral part of a small group, but when that small group joins together with many other small groups to become a large group, so then those individuals, their chashivos, so their uniqueness, stops being that important. So, like you have a shul, let's say, that has the shul has a gabbai and a treasurer and so on, and the one who does this and the one who does that, and then Gans Klal Yisrael gathers by the base of Mikdash for Aliyah L'Regel. This shul's gabbai, like klapi the whole tzibur, is meaningless. When he's at home and he's in his shul, he's very important. But klapi the whole Klal Yisrael, how he fits in, what do you do for the tzibur? I take care of my shul. No, I mean for the tzibur of Klal Yisrael. I don't do anything for the tzibur of Klal Yisrael. I do for my small circle. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a very chashuv thing. But imagine Klal Yisrael's understanding that it doesn't work that way. It's not just that every Yid had a chashivos klape his own shevet. The way it was in the beginning of Bamidbar is that each shevet was counted. But each shevet stood alone. And there was a total number, but it was a total number of all the different shvatim. Each shevet as a role, and each person in each shevet was chashuv for that shevet. But then the Torah mentions the number again by the degalim. What's the degalim? The degalim is the connection, the interconnectedness of the whole nation. You're next to this one, and this one's next to this one, and you're on this side, and he's on this side, and together we form a circle around the Mishkan. Together we surround the Mishkan as a unit, as a klal of the whole Klal Yisrael. Then we mention the count again. Because the idea is, it's not just in your shevet that you have a chashivas and yosimu aleim einam l'taiva and so on. Even klape Klal Yisrael, you're a vital piece. There's a role that you play that's unique in the entire picture of the whole Klal Yisrael. And then I realized that, the Ramban says it was because of a nace that happened. The way I had it in my notes was that the Ramban says it was a nace that happened, but maybe we could say a Pashup Pshat. And it was only after another year that I realized, no, maybe that's Pshat in the nace. Maybe that's what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants us to realize. That count that we did is Neigeav when we travel as a klal. And the reason the number doesn't change is to show that the number is chashuv. L'mashal, Rashiva once said that you're not allowed to add to the Torah, you're not allowed to take away. So Yisifun ala davar v'lo yisigru mimenu. Because the number of mitzvahs is chashuv, it's ramach v'shasa. It represents the tzuras adam of a person. It's the evarim and the gidim of a person. If there are 614 mitzvahs or 612 mitzvahs, you lose the tzuras adam in the mitzvahs. The number is important. Comes the Ramban and says, it's not just when I'm finding the total of each shevet that each person is chashuv, but even when I'm discussing the interconnectedness and the grand picture of all the shvatim together serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that number from then is still chashuv. Meaning, each individual's role still plays a role. Even if you all gather for the Siyam HaShas and you're filling a stadium and there are 100,000 of you, each one of you has a specific role. And even if there will be 10 stadiums, and there will be millions of you, each one has an exact specific role. And that's very important for us to recognize that as we go into Yantif. Because so often we become less motivated to engage in moving forward in our Avodas Hashem because people, Yidden, feel sometimes anonymous, unimportant, batal baroiv. They don't feel like they uniquely play a role. If you're not in shul being Makabel Torah this Shavuos, the Rebbeinu Shalom is asking for you. Like the Gemara says in Brachas, The Rebbeinu Shalom is asking for you. You are necessary. Each one of us plays a role that nobody else can play. Rav Wolbe writes somewhere, Hashem de Balei Musar, that from the beginning of time until the end of time, there's nobody like you. There's nobody who could do the job that you came into this world to do. There's nobody you could replace. We like to say everyone's replaceable. And maybe in our companies or community or shuls or yeshivas, it's true that everyone is replaceable. It probably is true. But to Klal Yisrael, there's not one replaceable Jew. Not one single replaceable Jew. And it's important to go into Yantif being Makabel the Torah, knowing that there's a role that I play in this relationship that's mine. That's my personality and my journey and my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, my challenges, even my failures. This is my story. And when I, over Yantif, work on myself to once again be Mekabel and to take responsibility and to be Noisei Oil and to be Achroi for the Torah for yet another year, I'm doing it with a sense that there is a job that I can do that nobody else can do. And it's my job. It's my specific job. It's my number. It's my Yosimu Einam Aleim L'Tova. So that was the Hakdama from the Parsha that I think is a very, very valuable entrance into Yantif. I want to mention a development of a machshava that the Makar is something I heard from my Rosh Yeshiva, and we developed it here over the years, and Baruch Hashem, I think we're ready to develop it further. And I think it's a very, very chashuv thing to be aware of. And we'll start from the famous Gemara in Psachim, where the Gemara has a machlekes Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua, Daf Samach Vav. The Gemara has a question of machlekes between Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua, because one pasuk seems to indicate that Yantif is Lashem, and one pasuk seems to indicate that Yantif is Lachem. Lashem is Tefillah, Torah, those things, Shul, and Lachem is Basar, Yayin, Begadim, Egoizim.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's Lashem and Lachem. And the machlekes is Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says there are two psukim. One says Lashem and one says Lachem. So Vaistais, the goal is Chatzi Lashem and Chatzi Lachem. If you take a Chelik Hamish the Ruah and you open up to the very, very end, it has Hilchos Yantif. And the end of Hilchos Yantif, there's a siman where it goes through we taka paskin this way. Chatzi, I'll tell you Rabbi Lezer's sheet in a minute. We don't paskin like Rabbi Lezer. It's a klal to know about Rabbi Eliezer that we don't paskin like him. He was a shamuti. But Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yeshua, we paskin like Rabbi Yeshua. And the Mishnah brings over there, therefore, he says to the chazonim, hama'arichim v'nigunehem, should be careful that they shouldn't be over at Chatzi Hayom, because it's a din of Chatzi Lachem. It's nisht genuk, Chatzi Lashem, there needs to be Chatzi Lachem. For the Chazan, sometimes that's his Chatzi Lachem, you understand. But for the rest of us, it also, anyway, so that's the Mishnah Berurah's Mazir, the Chazanim. He says, Yesh lig or bum. You should scream at them and tell them, don't be Meirich so much. These people have to go home and eat. Okay, because it's Chatzi Lashem, Chatzi Lachem.
Chatzos comes from? That's something else.
I don't know. I think because once you pass Chatzos, it's called you being mis'aneh. But the Gemara in Bey on Daf Tezvav brings a whole story with Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer didn't hold that way. He held, you have to choose. You're doing Lashem or you're doing Lachem. If you're doing Lachem, then you do Lachem all day. If you're doing Lashem, you do Lashem all day. I don't know if Lachem means that you don't daven, but the point is that the bulk of your day is Lachem. And that's what Rabbi Eliezer holds. The Gemara brings this whole Maisa. I'm sure you've seen it. That they were Talmidim in front of Rabbi Eliezer. They started to leave. He was a little bit critical of them, as one group after the next left. But he was teaching the whole day. He holds Kulei Lashem. And then the Gemara says on Psachim that Rabbi Eliezer says, the Gemara says, I think Rabbi Yossi says, Hakom Moedim Ba'atzeres to be Ino Nami Lachem. Even though Lagabi other Yom Tovim is a machlokes, is it Chatzi Lashem or Kulei Lashem? But on Shavuos, a Kol Moedim, even Rabbi Eliezer's Moedah, to be Ino Nami Lachem, that you need Lachem. And that is shocking. That of all the Yom Tovim, the day that we got the Torah Hashem, that day, Kol Yamaloi Pli to be Ino Nami Lachem. Rashi says that the reason for Lachem is to show Hakar Satayv that we got the Torah, to show how excited we are that we got the Torah. And then what Rashi means to say, l'chayra, is that the other Yom Tovim celebrate things that happen to us, and Shavuos celebrates the responsibility that we took. We were in the Anani HaKavod, we were Tzad of Mitzrayim. Those are amazing miracles that happened to us. But Shavuos, what happened is that we were makabel tremendous oil on ourselves. So it's important, and part of the Avodas Hashem of Yantif, that we celebrate in the way that we celebrate with Basar and Yayin and so on, to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu the joy that we have, that despite the fact that Kafa Aleim Har Kegigas, despite the fact that the Rabbi Shalom put this huge oil on us, that we are just drooling over this. We're so excited, we're partying because we got this Torah. That's a very, very chashuv thing. The Rashi alone is worth learning. But I want to suggest that there's something specific to Shavuos, that the Be'ino Nami Lochem. And I think it has to be, because it's like a little bit jarring. You know, we spend up the whole night learning, the first night of Shavuos. But when we were in yeshiva, we were told by our Rabbeim and Rosh Yeshiva the inyan of learning B'Ritzifus on Shavuos, and how many hours you could learn on Shavuos. And certainly, those are all 100% MS. But maybe what wasn't mudgash enough to us, maybe because they thought we were already good at it, but what wasn't mudgash enough to us was, don't learn too much. You have to celebrate physically. You physically have to celebrate. And that's haloi davarhu. So I want to be masbir a little bit with something that's negeh halacha l'maisa. I want to be masbir as follows. The Ramah in Taf Tzadik Dalet Siv Gimel brings that there's a minhag to put grass on the floor on Shavuos, the floor of the Beis HaKnesses. We put flowers, different people do different things, but the minhag that's brought in Shulchan Aruch is to sprinkle grass on the floor of the shul. The reason for that minhag is because there was grass on the floor of Har Sinai. Who told you there's grass on the floor of Har Sinai? So the Paiskim explain, because the Torah says that animals shouldn't go up on Har Sinai to graze. Hatzayin v'habakar al yiru el mula harahu. If there's no grass on Har Sinai, what are they grazing? Must be there's grass on Har Sinai. So therefore, we should put grass on the floor of our shul. Bothered me very, very much when I saw this halacha. Like, you happen to figure out in a diuk from a halacha that there happened to have been grass on Har Sinai. So should we paint the tiles blue because the sky is blue? Like, what's the vart? What am I teaching myself here? What am I doing? I think the Nakuda is as follows. The pasuk tells us in Parshas Bereshis that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Adam that Pru Urvu Milu Es Haaretz V'Chivshuha Uredu, and you should dominate, you should control. B'dgas Hayom U'Ba'if HaShamayim U'B'chol Behema Haremeses Al Haaretz. That a person, and that Adam, that man dominates, controls, is the master of the world. The animal kingdom is subservient to Adam. This, that sometimes animals won't be so subservient to us, that we know from the Gemara and Brachos. That's what chet does, right? Ein aroid meimis ela hachet meimis. But when things are the way they're supposed to be, u'mayra'achem v'chitchem yiyu, there's a certain awe that the animal kingdom has from man. Man is in control. But Rav Hutner Zeichet Tzadik Levracha said that it's not just that the world has man and animal. There's also something called the Adam Sheba Adam and the Behema Sheba Adam. Meaning man is made up of a part of him that's his seichel, that's the Adam of the Adam, and a part of him that's an animal, that's his body. That's the Behema Sheba Adam. And he said that same pasuk instructs man that his seichel should be sholet, b'dgas hayam u'ba'oif hashamayim, that the Adam Sheba Adam should be roida in the Behema Sheba Adam, meaning that our bodies, our impulses, desires, needs of our physical needs, etc., are subservient to the management of our seichel. Our seichel is in charge, and they're there at the pleasure of the seichel to serve the seichel. That's how he understands the pasuk. In fact, the emes is that if you think about it, we know that when they came out of Mitzrayim, they brought a carbon of sa'irim, which is animal food, and when they came to Har Sinai, Shavuos, that when Shavuos we do bring a shtei halechem, which is chitim, which is people food. And the nekuda there is that when they came out of Mitzrayim, they went to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but their gufim weren't yet under the shlita of the seichel. The guf wasn't yet completely responsive to the seichel. That took 49 days to get the seichel to be shaylet, and the guf is responsive to the needs of the seichel. When they came out of Mitzrayim, it could be they were schlepping their guf with them. It wasn't this cooperation of guf and seichel with which we're supposed to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We said over on Yantif, B'Shem Din Minsker Rebbe, I'm not saying it over exactly the way that he says it, a little bit of a different knech, but we said on Yantif that when Moshe Rabbeinu told Paroi, V'gam miknenu yelech imanu lois yishoer parsa, ki mimenu nikach la'avodas Elokeinu va'anachnu le'neda ma na'avod ad bayenu shama. The Moshe Rabbeinu said, no Paroi, I'm not leaving my animals in Mitzrayim. We're going to bring our animals with us, ki mimenu nikach, because from our animals we will take to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That the Novominsker Rebbe, Zechariah Levracha, said that we're going to take the koyach of behema with us, because the behema is also going to serve Hashem. Ki mimenu nikach la'avodas Elokeinu. Because from the behema also we're going to take to serve Hashem. We're not going to look at our Yiddishkeit, that with our neshamas we serve Hashem, like perhaps other non-Torah entities do, and the body is just there to cause problems, and we hate the body, and we try to just distance ourselves from the guf as much as possible while we serve Hashem in a world of ruchnius. No, we have a different plan. We are bringing the body with us. We are infusing it with ruchnius. We are bonding the guf and neshama together, the true tzuras adam. We are inspiring the guf with the neshama. We're bringing it up. We're creating a new mitzias of adam that's guf and neshama together, as we discussed so many times over this year. That's the gadlus of what we're doing. Gam miknenu yelech imanu ki mimenu nikach la'avodas Elokeinu. The guf also is going to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when they came to Har Sinai, when Klal Yisrael came to Har Sinai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did something that was never done before and never done after. It's a sugya in Sanhedrin. The Rashiva pointed this out, that never do you find that an animal got misa for doing its own aveira. Animal attacks a person, gets misa. If someone uses an animal as an avodah zarah or for gilui arayos, the animal gets skila. But for an animal to go do its own avera, im behema im ish lo yalu. If an animal went up to Har Sinai, it got misa. Did you teach the animal the Shulchan Aruch of not going up? The animal and said, that's taka asr, I'm not going to go up. What was going on there in the animal? You told the animal not to go up, and if it went up, it got misa. So the idea behind it is that the Matan Torah was not just that our seichel had a new priority. Matan Torah was such that Klal Yisrael was given the ability that the guf also is participating in serving Hashem, so much so that the behemos were responsive to the Ratzon Hashem, very much like Chamoresh or Rav Pinchas ben Yair, that wouldn't be over in Aveira because it was owned by Rav Pinchas ben Yair, and therefore it absorbed the ruchnius, the ratzah in lishmayas dvar Hashem of Rav Pinchas ben Yair, and it even was absorbed into his animals. This is similar, by the way, to the klal that you find in Chumash Bereishis of Yafes Sichasan Shal Avdei Avos Yaiser Mitayrasan Shal Banim, that the avadim of the avos had a certain chashivas and kedusha even more than Klal Yisrael. How could you say such a thing? The point is not that the avadim have the chashivas. The point is that they were avdei avos. When you're the eved of the avos, you're not a regular person. You're the eved of the avos. And when you're the animal of Rav Pinchas ben Yair, you're not a regular animal. And when your body is the eved of your seichel, it's not a regular body. It's a body that's inspired and responsive to the Ratzon Hashem. And that is such a miracle and such a gadlus of Shavuos that we want in Shul to be merames to that fact that the animals had a din. The animals had an Isser. Do you know what that means about me? The animals had an Isser. So we sprinkled grass on the floor of the Beis HaKnesses. Because how do I know there was grass on Har Sinai? Because the animals weren't allowed to go up. Gamatzoin v'habakar al yiru el mula horahu. So Memela, that's what it's very specific. We want grass on the floor. Because we want to have that, to chap, that gadlus, that greatness, and therefore I think it's very, very important. People are toyeh about this whole machlekes Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua, and they think very, very childishly, but sometimes if we don't have a little direction and inspiration, we end up just staying, human beings like to think as little as possible, so sometimes unless we're inspired weiter, we just take the pashut pshat, even if it's a little childish. But Rabbi Lezer says you have a choice, either kulei lashem or kulei lachem. Rabbi Yeshua says no, chatzi lashem and chatzi lachem. I've heard people say this over, even tell me the Chachamim, that Rabbi Yeshua says you split it. Part of it is for you, and part of it is for Hashem. It's a little bit like, it's as if like, you go to shul in the morning, you devote all your kaiches to serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with the chazanim, without the chazanim, whatever it is. You serve Hashem, you learn Torah, you go to a shir, whatever it is, then you're like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I think we parted, we're good now? Yeah, okay, because I got a body to take care of, my stomach is empty, I'm going to take care of that. Okay, we're done? Okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, bye HaKadosh Baruch Hu, see you tomorrow. Now is Lachem time. That's ridiculous, that's what it means. Chatzi Lashem, Chatzi Lachem. Or Rebbe Lezer is like, you have a choice. Either you should be a human being who learns Torah and learn Torah the whole day, or you could choose the animal approach. We have that kind of package as well. What? No. There are two paths to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's the path of being medabek my seichel and my neshama to Hashem. And there's an equally important path of uplifting my guf to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And experiencing basar v'yayin by HaKadosh Baruch Hu's yomtiv table, like the Rashi and Psachim, to that I'm rejoicing over the Torah with my body, with my behema sheba adam. And Rabbi Lezer says you can't do both on the same day. Each one needs its own day. And Rabbi Yeshua says no, we're more talented than that, if you want to say it that way. We could do both in the same day. We could mix the yomtiv, part of the yomtiv focusing on the neshama, part of the yomtiv focusing on the guf. Oh, but when Shavuos comes, Batzeres, Hakol Moedim Debi'ino Nami Lochem, because Shavuos was a day that the derheibenkeit of Shavuos, the upliftedness of Shavuos, affected not just the neshama, but it also affected the guf. And therefore, before we daven Ma'ariv, and therefore, that's why I said we need to do this before Shavuos. We're going to go to Yantif, and we're going to have a tremendous amount of time learning and davening, and that's a tremendous, tremendous part of our Kabbalah Satira. But let's not be fooled into thinking that when we're sitting by the Yantif Tish, and we're eating, and the table needs extra supports under it, because our wives cooked so much delicacies, and so much basar v'yayin, and we have the wines, the meats, the chicken, the turkey, the duck, whatever you have, the milchigs, the fleishigs, whatever you're doing, that's me time. Get ready, loosen your belt, this is me time. No, this is also Kabbalah Satira. This is also receiving the Torah. This is infusing into my guf the joy and the ratzon to serve Hashem, not just with the Adam Sheba Adam, but with the Behema Sheba Adam as well. Yashikayach.
Last time you said this idea